Hi, thank you for watching Digging to China. I'm Dong Xiang. Chinese students flock to California's universities and tech firms by the thousands to start tech careers. 9 out of 10 Chinese AI graduated students remain in the United States 5 years after graduation. But at the edge of this digital frontier, an emerging generation of Chinese experts, educated and trained in the United States, are heeding to the call to join the project of national rejuvenation at home, where their Silicon Valley pedigree gives them intoxicating power to reshape organizations, industry, and culture. As China's tech industry has matured, major firms like Baidu, Tencent, Alibaba, and ByteDance have all established satellite offices in the San Francisco Bay Area, where recruiters compete for Chinese talent with firms like Google, Apple, and Facebook. They offer a workplace culture where their native language is spoken regularly, and on-campus cafeterias serve Chinese cuisine. For many, it's a staging ground before they take on senior roles back on the mainland. Chinese engineers and scientists power a lot of US firms' innovation, but ascend to management less often than their Indian or European counterparts, increasing the allure of returning home. The Chinese tech sector's relative adolescence means firms have focused more on rapid iteration at the expense of long-term product stability, a sort of startup mentality writ large across the industry. This deferred digital maintenance results in brittle code bases, security vulnerabilities, or dependencies on outdated third-party software that are difficult and frustrating to unravel. The size and power of Chinese firms drives much of their appeal to engineers. Tencent's WeChat boasts more than 1.2 billion users and has become a de facto digital profile for Chinese citizens, facilitating everything from identification and mobile banking to healthcare and food delivery. ByteDance's TikTok short video app has become a hit in the United States and Europe. Behind these behemoths are an array of medium to large enterprises often unknown in Western markets, many of which count Chinese local and regional governments and state-owned financial institutions as their primary customers. That's been fueling the growth of a domestic AI industry that ballooned to more than a $75 billion market in 2018. The party intends to double down on its progress by plowing $400 million into the sector in the hopes of establishing China as the leader of AI by 2030. With that huge growth has come a demand for experienced engineers, with Chinese firms sometimes outbidding their US counterparts by offering greater influence and a better compensation package. The combination of powerful open-source toolkit and the harvesting of massive troves of data from their population of 800 million internet-connected citizens is fueling Chinese innovation in AI and deep learning technologies reliant on huge data sets for improving accuracy and innovation. Mid-level companies like CloudWalk Technology, for example, can process tens of millions of video recordings to improve the facial recognition software they sell to more than 1,000 customers, from banks to law enforcement and intelligence. Their tech has been used by local and federal governments in China in a controversial effort to identify ethnic minority Uyghurs both inside and outside of their native Xinjiang province, where a mass crackdown is deeply intertwined with the use of policing technologies. Chinese tech is also dominated by private firms. It's a fiercely competitive and innovative industry. Chinese tech entrepreneurs are like brave gladiators fighting valiantly for survival. US tech entrepreneurship is, by contrast, too gentlemanly. Although Silicon Valley prides itself on its commitment to protecting and respecting intellectual property, Chinese firms can rely on no such respect from their competitors. If they succeed in building a product that people want, they don't get to declare victory. They have to declare war. However, although the country's technological growth has been incredibly rapid, some workplace dynamics are proving less malleable. Western firms' corporate structures are often flatter, and innovation models are more egalitarian. But in China, a strategy is directly from the top, and the dissent is often discouraged or outright banned, both in business and government. A more authoritarian posture from the Chinese Communist Party and the Chinese President Xi Jinping's leadership has had a chilling effect on this type of dissent, not only to those living in the country, but to an enormous Chinese diaspora living abroad. Vocal opposition to government policy puts families and friends at home at risk. This expectation of silence is a sacrifice for returning to the mainland that many are prepared to accept. The Chinese diaspora often speak of the perceptual gap formed abroad. People from China, they are sort of blocked to some degree. They don't know a lot of stuff like we do because we can read a lot, and most of these stuff have been censored back in China. Part of this gulf is exacerbated by companies like Toutiao, ByteDance's news app that scraps the web for content, processes language, and then uses AI to rewrite headlines to drive engagement with its more than 120 million daily active users. It's just another example of the short-sightedness of recommendation algorithm. And although US platforms like Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube led the way on this technology, their design is the subject of continual debate in the United States and Europe, particularly in respect to their relationship to governments and censorship, a conversation that is implicitly off limits in China. Outside China, the Chinese Communist Party has been leveraging Western social media platforms to frame itself as a benevolent and competent global leader. Party propaganda officers have taken to Twitter with provocative statements to sow doubts in US political leadership and the origin of COVID-19, while a flood of bot accounts nicknamed the Wu Mao Army descended on the platform with pro-China messages. US social media companies' response to these official and unofficial tactics has been sluggish and confused, allowing the platforms to continue as important tools in the party's international propaganda efforts. But for the more global class of Chinese citizens, the Chinese Communist Party's public relations campaign is just a transparent lie. I, for one, do not trust anything from the Chinese government. The freedom we enjoy in the US is not easily forgotten. These unspoken shared values are an incentive to move and stay abroad, contributing to the ongoing brain drain of some of China's most sophisticated minds. Many go on to become pioneers in their field, adopt US citizenship, and have no plans to returning to China. Thank you for watching. Please leave a comment and subscribe to my channel. Just click the subscribe button right here. I'll see you again shortly.